Hello, this is Jordan, and in this video I'm going to be showing you a basic tutorial on how to use Microsoft Project. So I have open a new Microsoft Project file, just the way it would look as you opened it for the first time. And so you can see here, this is where we'll enter in all the information about different tasks. And on the right here, we have a graphical representation of what it'll look like. So let's get started right away here, and we'll enter in a task. We're going to call this task 1. It creates the task automatically, but it has no information to it. So we're going to decide that this is a 10-day task, and it is going to start today. So it automatically fills in this finish date once we've entered in the duration and the start. If you want, you can choose to enter in just the start and finish, which we can do here, task 2. I'm going to select Wednesday, and this task is going to finish the following Wednesday. So you can see here, Wednesday to Wednesday, it picked 6 days and automatically filled it in here. So now we have 2 tasks, and it's important to note that both of these tasks are manually scheduled. And what that means is that they won't change based off of what other tasks do. So it's going to start on these dates and finish on these dates, regardless of what happens with other tasks. In order to link tasks and make more complex relationships, you can set tasks to be automatically scheduled. So we're going to do that on this task, task 3. We'll select auto schedule for this task. And now I'm only going to set a duration of 5 days. And then I'm not really going to worry about the start and finish date because I am going to set it to follow this task. So in order to do that, I can come over here to this predecessors column, select the dropdown, and I want it to follow task 2. So I click enter here, and it automatically adjusts the start and end date so that it follows this task right here. Now, in order to adjust this even more and customize it more, we can click on this details task bar here, and it will bring up the bottom section here and show us this layout, which includes more information about this task here, including the predecessors and the type of relationship with the previous tasks. So right now it defaults to a finish to start relationship, which means that the first task finishes and the second task starts. You can adjust that to be any of the 4 relationships here. So we can make it finish finish so that this task will finish at the same time as this task. We can also adjust it to be start finish. Ooh, it doesn't like things starting before the beginning of the project, but it still allowed me to do it. So now this is the first task on the project. And we can do a start relationship as well, in which case they'll start at the same time. I'm going to adjust this back to the finish to start relationship, which is the most common one. And you can also see that there's a lag column here. So lag can be useful if you want a certain task to be related to the start of another task, but don't want it to correspond exactly with the start or finish date. So for example, let's say that this is placing concrete, and you want the walls to be placed on top of the concrete, but you want to wait a few days in order to let the concrete cure. So you can set the lag here so that we're going to wait a week in order for that concrete to cure. And now this task is still related to this task. So if I moved this first task here, this task will move with it, but it's got the lag built in there. And you can see here, the lag is only calculated in working days. So if I actually want it to be a real week, I got to set it to 5 days. So that is how you adjust the tasks and the relationships. And the same task can be the predecessor to multiple different tasks. So here, I'll go automatically schedule a duration of 10 days, and then I will link this to both task 2 and 3, which now, as you can see, because it has to start after task 2 and 3, it's going to start after the later of the two tasks by starting after this task here. There are a lot of different columns that you can select here. These are the default ones, which can be useful. So we've talked about predecessors. There's also resource names here. So you can assign it to different companies. So let's say it's R.H. White doing this task, and then a subcontractor doing this task. We can put that here. It'll show up on the chart here so that we know who's doing each task. And then this gives us the ability to sort by who's doing what work and really pin down specific companies' work so that you can look at it in a more refined view. I'll talk about that in just a second. So there are other columns that you can add, a whole slew of columns. A lot of these are useful while the project is ongoing so that you can track different metrics about how the work is progressing if it's on time. I think a useful one up front is the critical path, which shows whether a task is critical path. Now you can see here, this first task isn't critical path because it's set at a certain date and it ends before the end. But all three of these tasks are critical path because this is the final task in the process, and the other tasks directly affect the start of this task. So you can also see that visually by going over to formatting here at the top. And if you select the critical tasks, it'll highlight every critical path item in red. So you can see specifically that those are the things that are going to affect the final finish date of the project. While we're here, you can also adjust the color of any of these bars as well as some other formatting items and customize things so that they look visually appealing. I think that's one of the benefits of Microsoft Project is the ability to make a finished looking product at the end. So once you've adjusted this schedule as much as you want, you can also go over here and print it, and typically recommend a larger page size, but it has a nice clean output as far as making it look presentable if you were to present it to a customer or just wanted to go over it in a meeting. And you can also, just from here, adjust what date you're looking at and only specific items shown. So going back into the task items here, if you want to look at it in a different views, you can go over to the View tab here and highlight specific tasks. So we can highlight tasks being done by RH White, and in yellow here it shows up, which is nice if you have a lot of tasks and you just want to see the ones done by us. Also, instead of just highlighting it, if you just want to look at them and not see anything else, you can do a sort by filter, and that will make it so that you only see the tasks that you want to look at. So we'll look at the subcontractor this time, and you can see this is the only task being done by the subcontractor. You can turn this back off. You can also sort by various things here. Sort by start, finish, priority, ID. So if you have a much more complicated schedule with multiple sections, it might be useful to sort them. And then group by allows you to group tasks so that you see, for example, every task that's currently happening, every task that is finished, and every task that is upcoming. You can see it that way, or you can schedule it by manually and automatically tasked or automatically scheduled tasks. So just to finish up talking about the customization of views, you can also adjust the time scale here to show a different amount of days or organization. So this is considered the middle tier and the bottom tier. So I'm just going to adjust this at the top. The middle tier is months and the bottom tier is weeks, just so it's a slightly more compressed view. And now you can see it got rid of the lines and makes it easier to read if it's a longer term schedule so that you can fit everything on the schedule at once. Now, going back here, just want to finish my description here with a couple of useful items. You can make summary tasks here. So you can create a new summary task. So we'll call this section 1 work. And you can see it automatically put this task into that summary category. But if you want to add as many tasks as you want, all you got to do is make sure that they're underneath this task and then indent them. And you can see as I do this, the summary is expanding to include all of them. And once you've done that, you can just close and open this section so that if you have a large schedule, you can close up the areas but still see the summary bar. You can also add things like milestones if there isn't a specific length task that you want to set a date to, but you know that something needs to be accomplished by that time. So if we go over here and add a milestone, we'll just call this substantial completion. Know that this needs to be done on a certain date. Pick a date here. You need to be done by the end of the month. And you can see that it just shows up here as the date. And we know if this is when we need it to be done by, this task would need to get moved over to the left to make sure that it gets completed by the finish date that we're looking for. So these columns can all be adjusted. So if you want to view them differently, they can just be swapped around. You can hide them. If you hide a column, the information is still kept, so you don't lose it and you can always bring it back. But it's not always useful to have all of these columns here. So once you've adjusted the layout to your liking, you can save multiple layouts so that you can switch back and forth between them. So if you come over here to this Gantt chart, you can save views. We'll just save this view right here. And now if I switch to a different view, it saves all of the tasks here, and we can go right back to the view that we had before, including the graphical side on the right and the column layout on the left. That can be useful if you're using the schedule for multiple different purposes. So if you're tracking data on a certain part of it, or you're just inputting information, you can change the layout so that it is customized to show what you want to see at that time. So beyond that, you can also use Project to assign resources to different things like we did. So once we have these resource names here, you can look at different views down at the bottom here, including the resource sheet, team planner, and task usage. So this view allows you to see how much labor is being put to certain items. It defaults to 8 hours of work per day. So you can adjust the work here. And then this resource sheet here, you can see the different groups that are going to be performing the work. And if you like, you can set the amount of work per cost here so that they calculate the cost of that work. So I believe that's pretty much everything I wanted to show you, and that'll get you a good start on how to use Microsoft Project. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments or let me know, and I would be happy to answer them. Have a good rest of your day.